Welcome to Minishift. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the latest and potentially greatest Marvel blockbuster, Avengers Endgame. So for the spoiler-free section, we're basically just going to say...
Go watch it.
Go see it. Yep.
Seriously. Oh, let's be honest. You're in two camps in this. Like, you're either not going to watch it at all because you haven't been watching any of the Marvel stuff.
Yep.
Or you've already seen it.
Yeah, there is no one in between, especially at this point. Like, this movie is going to make all the money because everyone who wants to see it is going to see it. So, and there's also no way for us to, like, spoiler-free-ish talk about this film without indirectly ruining something. So we're just going to say, spoiler warning here, but you've probably, if you're listening to this, you've probably already seen it. So,
yeah.
Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Listen at your own risk.
So now that real unnecessary piece of information is out of the way.
Yep.
What did you think?
So I should specify this. I've seen this film twice already, and I'm going to see it again tonight. I've been going with a different group of friends every time because everyone wants to see this movie. But so the first time I came out of this film, I was really satisfied. I think it's a really, really great finale in a lot of ways. I had some qualms. I think the direction they went with some of the characters I was a little bit annoyed about. And I think some of the humor was a little bit too much. I kind of wish they would have toned down some of the more comedic scenes at times. But interestingly enough, on the second viewing, a lot of my quibbles with it the first time didn't bother me as much. Coming out of it the second time, especially when I was paying attention to, considering at that point I already knew how it ended and I already knew how a lot of it was playing out, I was paying more explicit attention to certain characters and certain exchanges in dialogue and things like that, and it feels like a more cohesive and powerful film in a lot of ways. I thought I would cry less the second time, and I did not. Oh boy, did I didn't. I did not. So I think not only have they stuck the landing for what is something that really should not have worked as well as it has, this might be, at this point, my favorite MCU film ever, purely because of what it is for so many reasons. So, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot here.
I find this really hard to give a proper film critique or film review of because it's not a film.
No.
It is an event.
Yeah.
It happens. You're there, you're in the middle of it. Everything just sort of washes straight onto you.
You're cheering, you're laughing, you're crying, all as a collective, basically.
Yep. And all its downsides and all its upsides all sort of blend. It sort of hits this weird wavelength where everything just sort of exists. And no one section can be sort of like held up higher or lower than any others. I mean, some people obviously can, probably people better than me. But for your average audience viewer, it's really hard to sort of pick out the things that you absolutely love and the things you absolutely hate because it's all just one big spectacle.
Yep. It's all just part of the experience in so many ways. Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously it is difficult to even talk critically about this film at this point in time because obviously we're recording it while we are still in the middle of the hype. The film has only been out for a couple of days.
Yep.
People are still just getting to see it now and whatever else. And it hasn't even hit opening weekend yet. And still being within that basically, event in so many ways means that we can't objectively talk about this film because it is so
We were
tied
never
up.
going to be able to objectively talk about this
Well,
film.
there is also an argument. I mean, we've talked about this before, but objectivity when it comes to film doesn't exist anyway. But inherently in this situation, it is so explicitly tied to the experience and the event at this point in time. So ask me 2 years down the future, who knows? I might not care for the film. I might like it even more. I'm really curious to see if I like it even more when I see it again tonight. So, yeah. It's just, as you say, like, it's the best way to put it. It is an experience. It is a sporting event. So we saw it together last night.
Yes.
In a sold-out crowd of, like, hooping and hollering and cheering and sobbing and just everything in once. And it is just... This isn't cinema in the way that we're used to in
not
so
at
many
all.
ways. And I think that's an amazing feeling because obviously it's an incredible experience to be in that atmosphere. But it also means that we can't judge it in the same ways that we would other films. So...
And like we can't even judge it as a film by itself because it is so linked to the past 11 years of Marvel
and
movies.
21 films.
Yeah, 21 films, however many TV shows that they've got going. across however many episodes, all building up to this finale. Not the finale, a finale.
A finale, because there will be more.
Yes,
almost
but
certainly.
man, does it hit you hard.
Oh, it is a finale in so many senses of the word. Like, I genuinely appreciate that they had an end and that they were building to an end. And that end, in many ways, was so incredibly satisfying. Like, we're on the spoiler section, so we can talk about the characters who die.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, maybe with the exception of Black Widow, but Iron Man and Captain America both get the most perfect ending to their arc and their characters for so many reasons. And it's so emotionally involved. Like, that just the last dance at the end, and then the music playing over the credits, and even the fact that this final line is Iron Man, and it's also not only a callback to the first film, but also the fact that that represents his arc, that he's basically enhancing himself within technology to grapple with things that humans inherently shouldn't grapple with. And by the end, not only does he make God bleed in Infinity War, God, i.e. being Thanos, he kills God in the end, which is literally this whole post-human and it's just... It's so perfect, not only thematically, but emotionally as well. Even how Pepper says to Tony at the end, "It's okay, you've saved us, you can rest now." Which is just everything he's been trying to do since he tried to rid the world of weapons when he found out that he was polluting it at the beginning of Iron Man. Like, it's so... Even though we talk about we can't critique this film, I genuinely think this is such a well-realized story arc over so many different films, coalesced through one actor and one character. And for it to culminate in this, I think is... I don't think they could have done it better, which is a weird thing to say, because I don't think that, like, perfection doesn't exist in art. That's just one thing, because you can't gauge perfection. Perfection has no real inherent meaning. But I legitimately think coming out of this, because of the emotional experience that was involved, that I cannot imagine this character ending itself. Like, especially Cap and Iron Man, I cannot imagine those characters ending in any other way now that I have seen this film.
Even... you brought up the death of Black Widow.
Yeah.
Even that, in a sense, was a nice little wrap-up. Although I do feel it was hard to see her go.
Yep.
And I feel like if anyone could have not died, it should have been her.
Yep. And she's still getting her own solo movie as well. Which
Yeah.
will almost certainly be a prequel, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even that sort of had a nice little story arc wrap-up to it as well. And the fact that she was indebted to... Hawkeye because of all of her mistakes, and they were wiped clean, and now she was cleaning his by giving herself up.
Yeah, and that he saved her, and so like he gave her a second chance, the second chance that she, even up to that point, still believed that she did not deserve. And in doing so, like, just thought it was the most perfect thing for her to repay that favor by not only, you know, sacrificing herself, but ensuring that he gets to see his family again.
And giving him his second chance.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually, that moment when Black Widow dies is one of those moments that I didn't actually care for an incredible amount the first time I saw it, just because it didn't feel like it coalesced in the same way that Iron Man and Captain America did. But that second time, everything you were talking about kind of came to light, and it felt a lot more emotionally effective. Not only to me, but I could hear, like, people sobbing all throughout the cinema. When,
absolutely.
When Hawkeye wakes up in the water with the Soul Stone and everything, it's just, see, that was the thing. I didn't cry at all in that first time I saw that scene. But then the second time, even though I saw it was coming, for some reason, just I kind of recognized the significance in a way that I didn't see before, and it just hit me a lot harder. So, yeah, it's great. It's really great. So this is the thing. I feel like if we wanted to dissect everything in this movie, it would take like 3 hours.
Yeah, we're gonna need a full episode for this, aren't we?
Yeah, I feel like sometime in the past, put a pin in it for now, but we should do like an Infinity War / Endgame, like double episode together or something like that. Because obviously this draws a lot from the comics in a lot of ways and such.
100th episode special.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll go for 24 hours.
Oh, sweet mother of mercy. Oh boy. Yeah, what did you feel about the length of this film? Because honestly, like, it's over 3 hours, but it didn't feel like it at all.
No,
I mean, it has a really good pace to it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was sort of there were a couple of times where I'm like, I can't tell if I am still 20 minutes into this movie or we're coming to the end.
Yeah. It genuinely took me by surprise when I realized, oh, we're in the third act now. Holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah. And even like the third act was such a big experience.
It's like half an hour into itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the big climax and that huge 40-person battle. Well, not 40-person.
Every person
battle.
Yep.
Just There was so much going on. It could have been a movie unto itself, just that final battle, because there were so many small things going on. So many little intricates. The sort of next wave of Avengers that were passing through the gauntlet.
Yep.
And the Spider-Man and Black Panther.
And Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
So happy Valkyrie got more of a focus in this film.
Yes.
After she was forgotten about in Infinity War. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
And Scarlet Witch.
Oh, yeah.
That was such an epic one. This is me just going to be talking about like fanboying over so many moments.
Well, there's so many little detailers
Yeah.
as well, like so many like tiny callbacks and things like that. Like, see, what I find so amazing about this film as well is that not only is it a culmination, it is an ending, but it is also a love letter to so much of the
Yes,
MCU.
absolutely.
That even when they're preparing for the time heist, they are literally doing the thing that every other MCU fan has done before, and like trying to chart where all the Infinity Stones are and such. Like, it's such a weird self-reflexive appreciation of what has come before while it's still feeling fresh and part of the plot. And even the fact like how Tony goes back and meets his dad, and how Captain America goes back to like, you know, sees Peggy through the window and everything like that too, and just all those little touches I think were really great, and that it's so clear that they not only wanted to end this well, but they also wanted to pay homage to everything that has come before. And the way they balance that through essentially time travel that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way.
If you think about it for more than 2 seconds, it goes out the window.
Yeah, exactly. But frankly, I do not give a damn about that.
No.
Time travel works like that in almost every other film, so it's just something you have to accept. But I think they just did such a great job of being so self-aware while still staying in the story and the moment, and giving all of those little details while still maintaining that emotional and character core. Because inherently, see, this is one of the things, the MCU should not be good as it is. It should be just empty spectacle of like big CGI fights thrown against each other. But the reason that it continues to succeed is because they've done the character work. They've done the legwork. We actually have characters and actors that we genuinely care for, and they've given them arcs that continue from film to film. And this movie not only remembers that, but maintains that without losing sight of not only what has come before, but also the spectacle that people still come to see.
They've sort of, I found interesting through the entire MCU, they've sort of, all their characterization is signposted in the sense that they have certain like recurring lines or moments or aspects that are changed slightly but show the progression of the characters. Like the one that comes to me is Captain America and his I can do this all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Which they bring up again in the film.
Which they make fun of in the film.
Make a joke of, but it also fits it perfectly for the Captain America of the original Avengers, meaning the Captain America of this Avengers.
Yep.
And how they sort of interact. Basically, all the characterization of that happened in Winter Soldier and Civil War and all those other movies, all just basically is brought out again in that small interaction, which I find absolutely fantastic. I struggle to think of other major film franchises that can hinge entire plots on some key crucial moments and bring that up again and again.
Oh, this is unprecedented in so many ways. Not only the MCU, but also these duo films, Infinity War and Endgame. Like, this is... I will be amazed if we see anything of this scale in our lifetime before. Like, this will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest films of all history. No question. Obviously you can adjust for inflation and things like that. But in the time that we are speaking right now, this movie is going to make all the money. And it's just absurd. And I even think after this that the MCU is not going to be able to top itself. Like, it's just going to go back to the smaller films and like the solo films, and they might end up still building up to something, but it's not going to be the same compared to
Absolutely
this.
not.
Yeah, I really think they should even just step back now. Maybe even only have like one film a year for the next few years or something like that, and just obviously continue the universe and still continue to do things. But I don't know. I feel like they should, after this, they should tone it back and let this just sit. It's even weird to think that we're getting Spider-Man Homecoming in a few months. Apparently, Kevin Feige actually didn't want Far From Home to come out this year. He wanted it to come out next year because he basically wanted a little bit more space after Endgame, which honestly I agree with after watching this film. So, yeah.
But Sony.
Yeah, but Sony, exactly. He doesn't have control over that, unfortunately. But it's just... Yeah, this is such a weird thing to talk about in so many ways because there's obviously so much emotion, and we've been fans of the MCU for a long time. You can tell by listening to episodes on Black Panther and whatever else that we are clearly fans of these characters, and it is up and down in some respects. Like, some movies are better than others. I did find it really funny in this film that the 3 films they go back to was the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor: The Dark World. Because why not? Also, side note, they completely missed the fact that there were 3 Infinity Stones in the one place later in Guardians of the Galaxy when they bring the Power Stone to the Collector.
Ah, yes.
When the Collector also had the Reality Stone at the same time. Just saying. But yeah, that's just one of those... Well, see, this is one of those things, those fan moments, exactly. Like, it's one of the things they lean into and like play into in the film, which I think is great. So, one thing I do want to quickly talk about, actually, is a couple of the quibbles that I had on my first viewing and kind of on my second viewing as well, and that's kind of what they did with both Thor and Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not only is like Hulk is interesting, but he's kind of had his own arc, but a lot of it has felt like sidelined in a lot of ways.
Well, it's only happened in other people's movies, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But it felt kind of weird that after all the like kind of trauma and the frustrations that Bruce was having with the Hulk in Infinity War, that they would just solve it off screen in that time jump between
suddenly, hey, he's Professor Hulk now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was funny that they went for Professor Hulk. I think that's kind of cool that they're still continuing to develop the character. But was it just me, or did that CGI lean a little bit too much into the uncanny valley from time to time?
A little.
Yeah, it was largely still good, but every now and then, just looking at his face, I'm like, ugh. Yeah, I don't love this, to be honest.
No.
It's a bit weird. So, yeah, it's that was a little bit strange, if I'm being honest. And the other thing is with as well is that Thor in the fat suit.
Yeah.
It felt like, because he has such a great arc and like so many great moments in Infinity War, and obviously the logical continuation of that after he's failed, that he would go into recluse and become like so, distraught and slobbered and such.
Thinking he's a failure, suffering a bit of PTSD sort of thing.
Exactly. And that is still in this film, obviously, but the way that they basically put him in the fat suit and then
turn it into a joke, basically.
Yeah, they turned the most tragic character from in previous film to the comic relief in this film. And frankly, it felt a little bit weird and disingenuous. I kind of wish that he could have still been like a drunken slob, like up with like Meek and things like that. That scene could have still been funny or something like that. But I think there should have been a moment where he, especially after he talked to his mum, that he pulled himself together and he shaved the beard and everything like that. And then it came back to the Thor that we knew, like the driven Thor from Infinity War in that final fight with Thanos. So,
although that wouldn't have given us awesome braided beard,
Yep.
very almost comic accurate Thor that I found.
He looked like one of the Warriors 3 in that moment.
He did a
the
little
dwarf-looking guy, the big fat one. Yeah.
It did fit quite well to the comics, and I did as soon as he hit the thunder and he had his full suit on and the full braided beard, and the very Norse-looking just ensemble.
Yeah.
That sort of, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this now.
Yeah, fair. I don't know. Every single time I looked at him side on and I could still see the beer belly, I'm like, yeah. And people, like, there was even in the cinema as well, people were laughing at him at certain moments. And I'm like, I feel like we shouldn't be laughing at this. Like, it's a serious moment, but then you see Thor's beer gut and everyone's like, haha, he's fat. Like, I don't know. I thought it kind of took away from a few things, to be honest. I think what they really should have done, they could have still kept him being fat, but when the lightning came down, he became super trim again or something. I think that would have been a kind of funny joke, but...
I would have... Either that, or I would have just had them, like...
Workout routine? Workout routine?
No, just... Even if they kept him fat, just not turned it into as much of a joke.
Okay, sure.
Like, early on, because, that does happen, and people go through that.
Oh,
shit.
Sure.
And, like, it would have been nice to actually see him actually just go out there and deal with his emotions. Not necessarily through, like, just immediately reverting back to what he was, becoming sort of something... Coming out the other end as someone who's sort of can balance that.
Sure.
He's, like, okay with not knowing what he is, and trying to find that path, which he does sort of in the end, where it's the whole, I'm someone without a destiny now, and I feel like that balance would have worked a lot better.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, obviously his arc and the way he does become a slob is so thematically appropriate. Like, the continuing arc in this film is like, what do you do after you fail? How do you move with your life, and how do you deal with trauma and things like that? And, obviously that's present in so many of the different characters. Like, some people move on, like Hulk is happier now than he has ever been in the past, and Tony has a family now and things like that. Whereas other people like Black Widow doesn't know what to do, because she's found the only sort of friends and family that she's have, and then she's failed and it's all been stripped away. And she feels like, not only, like, imagine the guilt of the fact that I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve this second chance. And then failing that family that has given you that second chance. And the trauma that comes affiliated with it. Like, more than almost anyone, she's the one that is still torn up about the snap even 5 years on. Which, you know, once again, I think makes it really appropriate when she sacrifices herself. But that thematic arc throughout all the characters, I think, is great. I wish they took Thor in a slightly different direction. Yeah, but like, honestly, the second time I saw the film, it didn't bother me as much because I knew about it going in. I was prepped. Like, okay, this is going to be the funny scenes, and even though some of those scenes still bothered me, like the Ant-Man, like he's old and then he's young and things like that. I think that scene went on for a little bit too long, and other scenes like that I can probably do without. But besides that, I think that's that. You know, coming out of a movie this long and this immense with this much expectations on it, if those are the only like few qualms I'm going to have with it, I think you're still pretty good. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this is an experience that I'm not going to forget anytime soon. Yeah, both times seeing it. So, yeah, and I'm sure you'd be the same.
Absolutely, even though I've just got the one so far.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, am I going to have to go back and watch this again?
People will be. I imagine the repeat viewings of this movie are going to be immense, because I guarantee I'm going to see it again, even after I see it again tonight. Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe in a few weeks' time or something like that. Yeah, I think we'll see. But do you have any other final thoughts before we end this mini shift? Or... No?
There's so much going on. We could either be here forever or we can cut it off now.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Well, I guess we'll put a pin in it for the inevitable two-parter when we talk about this as a normal mediumship episode and we get to relive all these feelings and emotions. But until then, fare thee well.
Bye.